Totally.
Once again, we have faces made for podcasts, but you can see the picture if you want. It's winter, so I'm going to the octopus's garden after this.
Welcome to the thaw.
Hey, Greg, you ever go sledding down a hill on your drum set?
No, but I have gone down Ellison Park in a toboggan, hit a bush, and tipped over ass over tea kettle one time, but that's, other than
I used to go down in college, used to get the cafeteria trays, but we'll save sledding for another topic, I guess. But let's go on a field trip today, and we're very thrilled to have in the studio. We have two Robs don't make a right, but we have Rob Smith here.
That is
and
true.
We have Mike Gladstone.
Rob, I like that.
Right?
I've done that. My friend Rob Mountain, I started doing that in high school. We started calling ourselves, it's like two Robs don't make a right.
Well, it's always...
We've been talking about, we have no linearness on this show. So the question I've been thinking of, okay, we have 2020, we know what happened. And I was wondering, as musicians, okay, we're crawling back. Have you seen, playing since 2020 to now, how it's changed with the crowds, or how has been the feeling coming back from that?
This is just my opinion. I feel like a lot of people now are much more excited about earlier shows.
Well, for me, because I'm old.
Well, no, but I think that's true. But I also think that
he's old.
When we get at I wasn't going to go there, but I feel like every time we play a happy hour set as opposed to the 9 to 12 set, a lot more people out. People seem a lot more willing to come out for those early things.
Yeah, we discussed that a little bit.
I had the moment during lockdown. I was binging shows, and I was watching All in the Family.
Oh, my
God.
I'm
sitting there going, I don't believe it. I'm the same age as Archie Bunker.
Oh, ouch.
He was pretty young when he was on there. He was
48, 49,
yeah.
But
that's crazy.
That's the thing I've gotten, too, from friends, that people do want earlier shows. Even the Bug Jar, which was infamous for first time I ever went there, it's show says 9:30. Why isn't anybody here?
Right.
First band would go on at midnight if you were lucky. Mm-hmm. You didn't want to be the last band because the band would be falling over. Now you're pretty much done, given how many bands are in the bill. You're done by 11 or midnight.
Well, The thing I've said, too, a lot of times is it gives us, as players, just in case, if we get done at, let's say, 8:30 and somebody starts at 9:30 someplace, then we can actually go hear somebody.
Do you have that
much energy? I do sometimes.
I used to.
At least on one night. I'm already in motion. I
where I would go, there'd be a happy hour, then I'd go to a show, then to another show.
Sure.
Now it's I tell friends, I go, look, I'm good for one. That's it.
I used to do. Back in the 80s and early 90s, I'd do a happy hour show and pack up my stuff, and then do a band, a duo show or trio show someplace, and go to a full band show at night, and go to Gitsy's and have breakfast at 4 in the morning and drink 5 cups of coffee.
I really see
feel great the next morning.
Now,
I think the last time my friend Ellis Cote was playing with Michaela Davis, he played with Danger Bird. He barely made it in, for the last show booked, and that was booked just to get in. But he's a young lad, so he can do that.
That is, that's what I've noticed, is that I've gotten older since COVID. So not only are other people happy that we do happy hour gigs, I'm thrilled.
It's not us. It's not just us, though, because I've been talking with some club owners. The younger kids seem like to go out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe afterwards or something else.
Yes and no. I have a 24-year-old daughter who usually gets started at about 11. I hear her leaving. I'm like,
that's me in
turning
the
off
old
the
days.
light.
Well, I was going to say,
I'd be waiting for my friends to pick me up at at 11 or 12.
Right.
The professionals don't start until then.
Oh, Buffalo, yeah. We'd go play. We'd play 4 in the start at 11, play till 3 or 4, and then you're driving down the thruway and the sun's in your face. Oh,
I've
God.
seen the effect on people, though, because one of my friends, I ran into him at a show, and he used to go out to every show, and he said, it really affected him not going out. He was really, really depressed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think sometimes we're going along in life, and, we've all had things happen. Things can happen in the, turn of a dime or whatever, and you all of a sudden, wow. And I think people realize you're going on in your normal life, and then everything you're doing ends. I know, one of my friends, his parents, they really aged, because older couple, they had a routine of the stuff they did, and they couldn't do it.
Well, that's if you think about it, it's what do they say? Whatever rests rusts. Like, if you are a person who loves going out and being social and doing things, to have everything come to a screeching halt that way, I think that it just shocked everybody.
Yeah, well, my introvert side was, now I've got you, and it's like the devil and the angel and the animal. You are never going out again.
I got to finally clean my basement, which I haven't done in like 6 years.
Oh, wait, you did something productive, huh?
Yeah.
So lockdown, that was the bonus of lockdown. Greg cleans his basement. The world.
I'm serious. I mean, I started looking through stuff because I have stages set up, like, because we rehearse down there, and I have, like, drums on little platforms, and I'm pulling stuff back, and there's all kinds of crap behind there. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like my old college car, and I'm cleaning. We used to call it the Q-ship. It was like a 72 Cougar. I'm cleaning out, going, there's like a half-eaten tuna fish sandwich and a full chicken bone in the back here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we're here acting like everybody knows who these guys are. So
we're getting to that, yes.
Are we? Okay. So, yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, no, honestly, if nobody knows who I am and nobody's interested in what I'm saying, it just seems like every other day anyway. So
how did everything start for... I always say music is like this weird siren song to get in. It's a crazy business. It's got to be like a passion to it. How did it happen for you that both of you said, wow, I want to do that?
Well, we started actually writing together before we actually had a band. I don't know, what year was that? 20.
Well, we just celebrated
or something.
10 years last year. So
that was with the band, but we were writing a year or two before that.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I was just kind of a nerd always. So music seemed like a cool thing for me. And when this band that I really liked called Uncle Plum, kind of broke up, that made Mike Gladstone totally available for doing other things. And
you are one busy guy too.
He is. Yeah. He's all over. I mean, he's been in every band in Rochester twice. Yeah. And no, but that was just for the two of us to work together. I went to a couple of shows and sang a song with the band once or twice, and we ended up writing things. And
we had like 3, 4, 5 recordings before we started, and pulled in a bunch of other folks that we really love and respect, and that were available. And the four of us, that's 11 years now almost.
Yeah.
Yep. I felt bad about Uncle Plum one time because it wasn't your fault. But my mom had a heart attack, and I had to drive her around. She had a party to go in Churchill Park, and you were playing at either, the Jam Room or Alexander's? And I'm like, in the parking lot, the trade people, I was like, who are they going in for? What is this? They're blocking my parking. Oh, it's Uncle Plum, darn.
Right.
You had a great crowd, man. It was good. You impeded my progress.
That's
all right.
I'm sorry. Like trying to drive anywhere near Lilac Festival during the festival. It's just, never mind.
Yep.
Avoid it.
Yeah, but how did, in terms of, because this is like Junkyardfieldtrip, how did you originally get into music and playing?
Originally?
Yeah, originally. We make your origin story.
Yeah, I mean...
Everything comes back to the Beatles on this one. Isn't it amazing?
Especially people my age, it's like that was my introduction to... Well, actually before that, my parents were not musical at all.
Okay, you're one of the exceptions.
Most people have musical parents that are musicians.
Yeah,
not me. Not at all.
No, my brother was in a band though. That was so it was my parents weren't really more. So my dad was a big Red Skelton fan.
But anyway, they had a horrible record collection. Just for as a kid.
Polkas Are Us and stuff like that.
Yeah,
does.
they like musicals,
To sing along with Mitch Miller.
That's right.
Yes, always.
Yeah, stuff like that. The exceptions to it, they had Jesus Christ Superstar and Hair.
Wow.
And that was, I think, my introduction to, that caught my ear. This is cool.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting choice.
So that was kind of my intro into it.
They liked.
Did they have the Brown album? I think they call it with Gillan.
With Ian Gillan from Deep Purple, man.
Yeah.
Wow. That's solid.
And the only reason he didn't do the movie was like, I can make so much more money with Purple.
Yeah. Murray Head.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
I have an interesting history with
Yvonne Elliman.
Yeah, Yvonne Elliman.
Both you guys, in a way, because you played on one of my demos way back.
Right, I remember.
I met you through Adele Spagnolia.
Right.
And she still sends me Christmas cards with her dogs.
I love her.
and her husband and all that stuff. Yeah. So So, and then, you were nice enough. You did a great job on one of my songs called Forever Girl, and still have that. I was going to bring it today, but I didn't want to embarrass you.
Oh, no. Because I played so poorly.
No, you didn't. You played great.
But,
and then I've known you, Rob, from all these other the Tom Waits and the Christmas shows that we've done and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to have worked with both you guys in different ways.
That's the beautiful thing about, I think, the Rochester, scene is that you stick around long enough and eventually you'll end up playing with a little bit of everybody.
Right.
And
true story.
Like, I don't know about anybody else. When I was like 17, like other bands, I'd be like, screw those guys, whatever. But as you mature and you start recognizing all the talent that's out there, and you kind of learn your place, and you recognize that, you may think that you're all that in a bag of chips, but there's always somebody better than you.
Oh yeah.
And when you get to work with some of those people, oh my God, what a treat.
Mm-hmm.
I've always used the analogy. One of my friends in Nashville, one of my friend's songwriters went down there, and he's like talking about. Well, he's a big fish where he was, but he's going down. He's probably not even one in 500. So I asked my friend in Nashville, okay. She's like, no, that's not true. It's like maybe, 10,000. Mm-hmm. And it starts getting on where, you realize there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Like, I love watching, what's his name, Emil Latucci, is that his name, the drummer?
Oh, Emmett? Yeah.
Emmett, yeah. And I love watching him play.
Angelucci.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, Christ, man, that guy is just great. I just watch him, my jaw drops,
Well, but that's the thing about this area is that, while Emmett is fantastic at this or that, there's another guy who knows how to lay back in the pocket and do like swing, or lay back in the pocket and do, or do rockabilly or whatever. There's so many people with so many talents.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to play everything great. Yeah. I mean, it's good. You can sort of have a bag of tricks for this, and here's my rock chops, here's my jazz, But some people have a real specialty at something, and they just are the best at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good at something, definitely exploit that. It's like, I'd rather go that direction than be somebody that's just, I know a little of this, and that's how kind of I am, I feel like.
Ginger Baker
me too.
I
know a little of this, a little of this.
I saw an interview with Ginger Baker where he didn't think Bonham or Keith Moon were good drummers. He said, ask him, and he goes, they can't swing.
Bonham?
Bonham
is like the king of swing.
He's great.
That's just an opinion,
right?
I read his bio.
I mean, he's not going to play with a big band, but he plays a swing style.
They all something. I've been around. I won't name names, but I've been see some performers. Sometimes I'll be with a musician, and be like, I think I'm entitled. They're out of tune. They're out of making it. I'm like, dude, we're out to have fun, okay? Yeah. Well, it's like my dad. My dad worked for process film for Kodak. We go see Indiana Jones. He's complaining about the spots on the film.
Come on. That's going out. Like, I was out last night, and there was a band that some people may not enjoy what they were playing, but there was a room full of people who did. Yeah. So don't bother judging them. They're drawing a crowd that is really enjoying what they're doing. Live it up, man. Let them do their thing. You do yours. Ginger Baker, I think, is one of those guys that's notorious for just bad mouthing.
He's an angry man.
Oh, and then reading his autobiography.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You cannot argue, some of the things that Bonham did with Zeppelin. There are people who still can't figure out how to play rock and roll, and there are still people who just can't get Jamaica.
Right.
I love Robert. I have to do my Robert Plant. Well, all you Americans say Dire Maker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had to play. I played "Fool in the Rain" back when it came out. Man, that took me a while to figure that one out.
Yeah, talk about swing.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Greg, just wait.
But not only that, but even when he's playing the simplest, like when the levee breaks or something, I could play that beat. But you hear him play it, and there's just something that affects you deep inside. That
Greg,
I don't know what it is. Whatever that magic
lays it down.
Yeah. Greg, I'll give you a tip about how to do "Fool in the Rain." Wait till it's raining and walk outside.
That's right. Well, it's kind of a variation on on what's that? Who's that guy there? Jeff Beccaro did it with Rosanna. It's a variation of that.
Purdy Shuffle.
Bernard Purdy Shuffle.
You can actually look up on YouTube isolated "Fool in the Rain" Bonham drumming.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But they never played it live because I guess they could never do it because of the piano and everything.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a keyboard player for it, for sure.
But like you were saying about different styles and things, like, okay, like, I can play wedding-type jazz, like standards and things, but I don't consider myself a jazz drummer. I mean, I can get by, with that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to sit there and play, ornate Coleman stuff.
Right. I know a couple of chords that have 4 notes in them.
Yeah, right.
That's the extent of it.
What was that? That's like, there's one line in the thing about from a band that talking is like, okay, this one has like, wait a second, more than 4 chords. What is this, some weird jazz tune?
Yeah, right.
But talking about music, though, is there anything you would feel if you wanted to try that would be a real challenge to play? I mean, real
every once in a while, I want to learn to. I actually took some piano lessons from Andy, and after 3 of them, I was like, I can't. I'm just an old dog having a hard time learning new tricks. Even a couple of internet lessons. I'd love to be a good keyboard player, but. I'll keep working on it.
Yeah, but there's a lot to be said for like we had that gal on from God, I'm blanking out today. Who the girl that we had on the Earth Zones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she said, I'm a rhythm keyboard player. And I'm thinking, okay. So I went to hear them. Mm-hmm. They were playing at Johnny's, and that's what she does. She just plays the chords, but she plays rhythmically, so she backs it up, and she's there, but if she wasn't there, it would be empty. So you don't have to go crazy all the time. Everybody's got their spot in the song.
I mean, a good musician knows how to play in a band.
Right.
I mean, you can sit there by yourself and play all day. I know people like that can sit down and play, beautiful show tunes and classical stuff at the piano, but you get them in a band situation, and they're just like, they can't keep the groove, and they're just, Yeah,
it's a definite art, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of those things, like, when, you talk about not being a great jazz player or whatever, like, you can do the standards and stuff, but being in one of those free-form kind of jazz bands where, like, you have to know, all right, now's your time to solo, but then you get the hell out of the way and let somebody else do their part. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about this rhythm keyboard player. Everybody expects that there's a bass player and a rhythm guitar player and a lead guitar player and a drummer, maybe a keyboard player, but they don't have to all like perform the same roles as they would in any other band. Talking about things that I wish I could do, but I think is a little beyond me, like prog rock. Like I would love. I grew up listening to Yes so much more than Rush. I love the band Tool. But when I sit here listening to Danny Carey play an 11/8 or whatever he's doing, I don't think I have it in me to like stand there and count till I come back in again. How they do that stuff, it just blows my mind.
It is the best drum solo I ever saw was on Rush's Time Warp Tour 2010, Neil Peart.
Sure.
And he learned, I guess, what he said. He wanted, imagine, being as great as he is, he wanted to challenge himself, so he took up a whole new style to learn.
Learn jazz and learn to play like what do you call it when you
match traditional grip?
Traditional grip.
But I guess like Randy Rhoads when he was touring with Ozzy, he wanted to do classical guitar, so he get lessons.
Sure.
So what he ended up teaching Randy Rhoads going around. Okay, teach me some classical. He ended up teaching the guitar.
I could totally see that. But that's and doesn't that kind of go for anything in life where like you can be as good as you want to be, but the best continue learning. Neil Peart was probably taking drum lessons till the day he died because, there's always something more. There's always a style you cannot best, you cannot master. So, you keep trying to grow.
Take new ideas.
And I read like Getty's book, and they said like Neil had the tendonitis and stuff, and he could have been like 60% Neil Peart is still better than.
Take a guy like Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Like always doing every record he did was something completely different from the last one, stylistically. The way he solos, he just kept getting better and better everything he did.
But I always say about some of these guys, though, you should have confidence, but not like such egomania where you can't collaborate with people sometimes. Right. When you want to really make something great, you have to have your mind open to ideas, and some people you just can't work with.
All the best musicians that I know are team players.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, my mind's so open, everything just spills out.
Talking about like the Tom Waits tributes, or some of those Christmas brunch things or whatever that I've gotten to play with so many people that I've never worked with before.
Right, it's a great networking thing.
It
above
really
everything
is.
Else.
And you can find out like. So, last year I was invited to do a residency at Three Heads, and some of these jam things that I did, and maybe you don't get paid for them, or maybe you can get a couple bucks and whatever, but it allowed me to network with so many more people and bring in some voices that I've never worked with before.
Right.
And God, what a treat that is.
That's also, I always look at like it waits. How did you do something like from Swordfish Trombones or any of these other systems? Because he's like in my top, one of my favorites. And to me, I would just go, no, I don't want to do it because I can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you if you are a purist, you recognize like, I'm
how's that drumming for that, Greg? You ever like for drumming for the weights thing?
The weights thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because it's not traditional. There's a little bit of Tin Pan Alley. There's a lot of brushes, which I like to play, and which I always get good comments on because not too many guys are playing brushes anymore.
He's doing things like mule variations with recording in a bar, and you could hear the chickens and stuff
right.
like that. Or Swordfish Trombones, like supposed to be like I think of a Trout Mask replica.
He's very rhythm oriented, though. You don't think he is because everybody focuses on his voice and everything, but. When you hear his grooves, there's a lot of big drum stuff in those songs.
Oh, sure.
And,
I loved the song that I always picked when I was asked to do it was Jockey Full of Bourbon.
Yep, that's a great song.
And I like that song because it's a Latin feel, but it also made me think of another band that I like called the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Oh yeah, great band.
Kind of it just had that kind of a swing kind of a thing to it, and what a blast. To do that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I love that. To me, I would consider maybe one of the most depressing, saddest songs of Tom Trobert's Blues.
Of course.
But he just creates this image, and this guy's doomed. He's never going to get home or anything.
Great.
But then I'm playing Tom Waits for my dad, and he's like, oh, the Cookie Monster made an album.
Well, my father had some very strong opinions on like certain singers or songwriters, like Paul Simon. Put too many words in songs, and Billy Joel sings in a monotone and things like this, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. You have your opinions.
I think we go back. Like I always talk about going back to high school, where you had to be like in some kind of tribe, where you had to be the metal guy, the goth guy, and I got caught one time at gym telling a friend I had a Coltrane album, and I see a friend of mine look at me like, burn him,
right?
Because they're made.
That's exactly.
Then you get out of it once you get to college. And you just find, like, more different people, and you're listening to everything. And that's how I always became, like, just if it's good music, it's good music. And you talk back about, like, for me, meeting friends and everybody, it's just from going to shows a lot of the time. Sure. It's like, wait a second, it's the same dude here.
Yeah.
And you would, it's like sometimes when you want to break the ice, okay, you have an instant conversation piece. Oh, look at this shirt. It's like, you like them?
Right. Oh, I love wearing a concert T-shirt and having somebody come up and say, "Oh, I love that band. You see them last time they're around and whatever." And it does. It's a little bit like wearing the right hat by your favorite sports team or whatever. You have that instant connection.
I had the one. I'm walking my dog in the woods, and my friends Ryan and Alicia are walking, and I got my head down. It's sort of muddy. Walking, dog comes up to mine. Then I see the Velvet Elvis shirt. I go, I know those guys. He's like, yeah, I think it's Ryan, Alicia.
I'm always amazed when I see people like at the store. I work at Wegmans part-time. So I see people shopping, and they're wearing like these weird concert shirts or jazz shirts, and you're looking at them, and you're going, okay, that doesn't seem to fit. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But you're like, okay, so and I'm looking at somebody's, like they went to some big, like, outdoor thing or something. And then you're reading the shirt, or trying to anyway, and wow, it's like, holy crap, that must have been a fun experience.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I had the one where I see these kids walk by me and they have an Iron Maiden shirt on. I go, well, yeah, I was at that concert. It was like, I thought this was anime.
I just picked this up at Hot Topic. No, I just went on a cruise. I was invited, because my brother was working on it, and they had all these bands that I would never go see on my own dime. Heavy bands.
Right. Those are big now.
And I totally, I'm sure that I looked as out of place as ever a nerd at a hard rock concert looked. But
as long as you weren't clapping on 1 and 3.
I most certainly was not. It's amazing though that I think that anybody who really loves music will find something in any show that they can kind of gravitate toward or enjoy, because even the heaviest bands, which I would not normally listen to, I really ended up enjoying.
Oh yeah, so. I listen to a lot of stuff that I'd never want to play in a million years. You know,
right?
You know, that's the thing. The beauty about Rochester too is like every night almost you can see so many different styles.
Sure.
You know, if you're open to it.
Yeah.
No, but your story reminds me of my mom always wanted to go see Liberace, and my dad never did. So he finally drags him. Became the biggest fan.
Why not? The guy was a showman. You can say anything.
But he was really good too. That's the thing. You draw him in with the
incredible musicianship and just the flamboyant personality and stuff.
And
I'd go today.
Batman villain.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Well, did he? We can go off about Batman. But that's one thing too. Before we bring up your band, is there any artist you like? No, you just never gotten into later when you gotten older. You really like?
Yeah, a ton of them.
I'll give you like Van Morrison for me. Even like if he's a prick or whatever, it's the music. But I just, for some reason now, again, it's interesting as being a Tom Waits fan, I just never really liked his voice. But then I started listening to Astro Wheels.
He's such a great songwriter.
It's like, wow. And I had to convince one of my friends that the Stones didn't play Brown Eyed Girl ever.
Yeah, I mean, anything that wasn't prog rock when I was a teenager, when I was, 16, 17, wasn't Rush or Yes or Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
If it wasn't precise, I was definitely not interested in listening to it. And, the things I remember hating was like Springsteen.
Right.
Like, I always hate him. Like, as I got older, I'm not a huge Springsteen fan, but I appreciate what he's doing and the way he writes. And
it's a bombastic approach. But I never was crazy about his voice, only because I always think he still yells. I don't really feel like he sings a whole lot.
Yeah. I also think it goes like one criticism. Like for me, I got into prog a little bit later, but like it's also like Zeppelin when I'm listening to 28 minutes of Dazed and Confused. When I was younger, I was looking for that, Beatles, Stones, that 3 to 5 minute song.
Right, 3 minutes.
Not the one where like you go listen to like, which I really love, like my The Waiting Room. So when they play like the music box from Genesis, it's half an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of my friends said,
my friend's a guitar player.
Saw Rush that it was like in 76, 77. They did like 5 songs. It was 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Now, see, I would love that now, but like then I'd be, what the...
Well, that's the thing. Like, there are lots of bands that do that, but if it's going somewhere, if it's building and it's evolving through the song.
Yeah, and they're such a good band. I mean, I kind of lost interest in them after like Moving Pictures, that period.
Yeah.
But I saw the Hemispheres tour. I saw the Moving Pictures tour, and that was just. I knew every song, knew every word, knew every lick, and then when they went off in other places, it was awesome.
I mean, I was actually thinking about Rush last night, and I would say like the 90s albums, and again, remember the tragedies with Neil and everything, unfortunately.
Yep.
But like Counterparts, Test for Echo, Vapor Trails, maybe Roll the Bones, they're a little light for me. But I think Snakes and Arrows and Clockwork Angels is a strong finish. But all I get bothered by, like on this show, is always like, you see them live? What's with the cooks and the ovens, the laundry?
the washing,
the laundry going.
Well, somebody, these guys, these tour people that come up with these things. Okay, I got this great idea for the concert, and they're like art directors. They come up with a set, and they, whatever, whoever's paying for it. But
wasn't it Getty kept saying, okay, there's too much space between the amps or something?
Oh my God!
Because sometimes you don't appreciate what a sense of humor they have. Because they seem like these like serious prog guys. They used to sing, like, for 2112 for Temple of Syrinx, Getty used to sing, we're the plumbers who come to fix your sinks. But instead, like, the fans who took it too serious don't even
it might have been some weird joke, like we travel so much we don't even have time to do our laundry, so we might as well just do it while we're playing. Or, it could have been something like that.
But like if you go see one of their shows, they would do like a little movie, like a comedy movie with like Getty's a Scotsman or something.
Changing instruments.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that. It's funny how that has become kind of a fixture of a lot of things. I think of Bare Naked Ladies doing videos where they're, suiting up for their show beforehand, or you think of all the theatrics in like an Alice Cooper concert, or some of those things. When you look back at the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, just standing in stock still in one place, and where it became a theater production.
Right. Well, and I was going to bring that up kind of in a different way, like when things recycle, like all of a sudden, rockabilly and all that kind of stuff gets rediscovered, like Gene Vincent stuff. All of a sudden, everybody's playing this simple stuff, and the drums have a certain sound, the guitar with the echo, and the whatever, you know what I mean? The different
Stray Cats bring it all up again.
Yeah, and then some other style takes over, and then some other, it's interesting when things get recycled, or all of a sudden, hey, that stuff's 30 years old, but it sounds cool, so let's do it again. Yeah, it's weird.
Rock goes in cycles, so that's why there's always something new to discover. It's something, it always goes, something's in, then something's not, and then you go to a different style. And I always go for, lead singers, and one of the examples I used when I saw the Zombies, Claude Bunstone, and I say, you don't have to go, do cartwheels, run around. He just stands there, but he's got such a presence.
Right.
Yeah, Zombies live are great. I have a DVD of
this was rock. It was actually the bass player from the Kinks, and that was the 12, obviously one of the whole Zombies, but it was Argent Bluntsome. But I think Junkyard Field Trip's the closest band name we've had to Carnival of Randomness. It really is. It's you might be our house band. You got to get to the studio. So how did the name come up, and how did you start again playing together, and what would you expect from one of your shows?
Well, as far as the name goes, me and my wife were literally going to a junkyard to drop off some stuff. And
you big dummy!
And there you go. And then, it was Instagram had just started. And back then, Instagram was taking pictures of things. And so we're in the junkyard. Ooh, look at these springs over here.
Yeah,
oh, my God, look at those tubes.
Stack of
bolts. We were so creative.
Yeah,
goes, we're on a junkyard field trip.
Wow.
I'm keeping that.
Yeah,
I love those places, though. I used to, for my business, we'd drive around. You'd see these little out of the area, flea market. Okay, there's a Ottawa Senators jersey or something from some 1972 league, and there's a giant bowling pin sold.
That's
hit
great.
The flea markets, I guess there's a whole bunch of them.
They're a big business now.
And you have Goodwill, all those other things. You never know what you... I still
upstairs at House of Guitars, that's my junkyard.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I go in the back and
start digging.
Yeah.
I remember
I just go looking for parts.
I just found a Martin from 1845. Look at this. Buried under everything.
It sounds like Jimmy Hoffa. They're one of the English kings.
And I don't even that. We only see the public parts of it. There's a whole subterranean.
Well, you know what? I was in there.
That place in France built out of bones and skulls. That's what I think it's probably like.
I was in the Hog one time, and Armin just happened to be there, and I was looking through records. I think it might have been Record Store Day or something. And he was there, and I said, I really said this to him. I said, you're a really smart guy. I said, because I think you do this on purpose, because people like to dig for and find treasures. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of looked at me and didn't really say anything, but I kind of felt like he was like, I think you're on to me.
I can't remember who it was that started that joke about being thrown out of the House of Guitars for straightening things up.
I remember the best service, and this was decades and decades ago. The person will be gone, but so I made the mistake of a Greg Prevost. He would actually know where everything was. It was amazing. Greg, where's this? Oh, you don't know. But, bless Greg. But there was somebody else there, and this was decades ago. And I went and I was like, okay, I'm looking for this, actually looking for a bass. And I'm asking him, okay, but he stands there for a minute, burps, and leaves.
Very helpful.
No, for me, that was I'm oh, this dude's awesome. I love him. But I just something to talk about, too, a junkyard field trip like that. That's the one thing, I could go be ordering stuff while we're doing this. And everything. I missed the chase, when I was a kid, though. Just exploring, going to the House of Guitars. Hey, this album cover is cool. I'm going to buy it.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that's the one thing that I and I think everybody's said it at one point in time or another, the evolution toward online purchasing and stuff and buying one single at a time rather than buying an album.
Right.
It's such a loss. Taking home the vinyl, cutting open the plastic, opening the album, going through all the pictures, going through all the lyrics, and you know, listening to the B-side and like picking up on these songs that you never would have
cleaning your seeds out on the double rack.
The other one was the classic from when we were kids. Everyone when we were kids had to go, usually be Foreman's. We had to get that ELO double album because Little Flying Saucer.
Yes Songs is my favorite. It was a triple album.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just enough reading material for years for a 15-year-old.
Roger Dean could do an art book.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like incredible.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I kind of miss. But, I mean, everything changes. You just adapt to it.
You do.
But it's like me being a comic book dork. The fun thing would go to Worldwide Used every week. You go to the comic shop. Oh, I found this.
Well, I feel like vinyl's come back, but in a weird kind of hipster sort of way.
Yeah,
you know, a record is like $30 for an album. What do we pay? $3.99
you know.
One thing cracked me up. I'm talking to a friend of mine.
Yep.
Talking to a friend of mine one time about so and so's. Yeah, I got their new tape. He's like, they made a tape. Freaking hipsters.
Turntables are crazy expensive.
Tapes. I'm like, what? The heck?
I have seen that, and I'm just like, do you not recall what it was like when they got eaten by your tape deck or whatever?
I
love that. You know what I found? You're talking about Adele before. That was my first band in Rochester.
Oh, right.
We're an all-original band called One Track Mind.
Oh, wow.
And we played one of our first gigs at Casablanca in Henrietta.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And somebody made a board mix of it.
Oh, nice.
You know, I discovered it after like 30 years the other day.
Right.
I have an old boom box. I'm like, wow. It's crazy.
I just had this other thing, this band I was in called Craze that was like 90s. And Andy was just enough. I had a cassette. I put it on a metal cassette, which was smart because they were pretty good quality. Mm-hmm. So I burned it, and he was nice enough to kind of remaster it a little bit for me. I mean, the board mix from the arcade. Freaking drums are huge, lots of verb. And it sounds great.
That's great. He's leaking through the microphones.
Yeah.
People screaming.
I've been watching some Junkyardfieldtrip videos, and it's like a diverse array of songs you cover. And how did you decide, sort of, okay, what we're going to do, what we're going to do this?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that, you know, a certain amount of them might have been things that we had done with bands we had been in before. Other things were just songs that, you know, kind of spoke to things that we enjoyed now. A lot of the songs that we've written, you know, some of them tend more toward like the Americana stuff because I've been listening to a lot of Jason Isbell and things like that.
Stapleton,
Great, you know, singers, songwriters, storytellers. And then other things are just random things that like somebody brought it up and we tried running through it and it took off. You know, it seemed a better fit than we thought.
We learned songs. I don't know. We could go learn 2 or 3 songs and we'll play them once or twice. And if they're just not hitting with us, it's just they go away.
They fall
off. Once in a while, one sticks.
Huge Jason guy. I actually went to the Beacon Theater to see him. Even we took a road trip to go see him. I saw him like 8 or 10 times in a row. I think he was better here at Water Street than at the Beacon. He was really good there.
He was just through the area on a solo tour, and of course, you know, the one thing about like playing is, and I think any musician in the area will tell you, you end up missing out on a lot of good things. He was just down in Ithaca playing by himself, and I can only imagine how cool that had.
That was like I missed, because I lived in Alexandria. I missed Tom Waits at the Stratdown. I would have come home. But the funny story one of my friends has, I think it was after the, might have been Water Street show, he saw Jason outside. He's talking to him. He's like, you know, I met you years ago with Drive-By Truckers. He goes, was I an asshole to you? I was a big alcoholic.
Well, he does. He speaks. He's, you know, and he's very open about that stuff, about how little of that time he recalls. You know, and now, you know, he points out that he's been out of the band longer than he was in the band. But yeah, I think that, you know, you do see an evolution. He's always been a great storyteller, but so much of his stuff now is so open and honest and, you know, self-reflective, and
I lose it still, like listening to Elephant, because like a friend of mine
God.
that happened. I was like, when I heard about her, like I was playing that, just making myself miserable.
Oh, absolutely. No, you can totally.
Vampires, another one.
Yeah.
I hear that one. It just hits something, man.
But you got to. I mean, I always say sometimes, like really, like being musicians. Sometimes some of the people I just shake my head at, going, "You can." I mean, you're not doing bop.
No.
You know,
No.
there's something you're being really personal with this stuff, and you're like vulnerable.
Yeah. No, and that's why so there's a lot of the stuff that we've written tends to be very, very like they say, write what you know. And I always make the joke that what I know is screwing up and having to apologize. So a couple of our songs are about, saying I'm sorry and whatever, begging for mercy. But again, Junkyard Field Trip seems like the perfect name for a band that goes from, doing a heavy, like, Zeppelin tune to doing, just straight up Americana.
It's like Carnival of Randomness from musicians to the Pittsburgh Frog Lady. Hey, she's a great guest.
Hey, I bet.
Our set list is either schizophrenic or eclectic, whichever.
Well, however you like.
But I like that. See, some people like when you go in and you don't know what to expect a little bit. Like, wait a sec, you're going to pull out Creep, then you're going to do this.
Right.
See, I do a little research.
Oh, there you go. No, that's so the videos that exist out there online. Back during COVID, we did a cover of Reelin' in the Years, and we did a cover of She Talks to Angels. But then you'll pull up old videos from like outside of the Genesee Brew House where we're doing like Black Dog or whatever. I hope that when we change gears without a clutch, going from like a slow Van Morrison tune to like a heavy Pearl Jam tune. I hope that we're kind of keeping everybody awake, keeping everybody on point.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we have sort of a weird relationship with playing live because we want to work. We like working a lot,
of course,
but we also have this other original side of us.
Yep.
And when we're playing in certain clubs, and people just don't want to hear a whole night of introspective Americana originals. It's just just the way it is. So we'll play a bunch of covers that we like, and some of the stuff that Rob was talking about before. But we'll pepper them in.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like when you send out your press package or whatever, do you put in covers or do you do a whole inclusive thing of all your styles, or how do you do that?
No, I mean, generally I try to represent us as an original band.
Okay.
And one thing that we've been doing, we've done it twice so far since our last record, is we put together what we're calling Junkyard Field Trip Deluxe, which is an 11-piece band with horns, a pedal steel player, fiddle player, playing everything, kind of reinterpreting the songs from the record and just doing 2 hours of all of our originals. And, places like we did our first one at Record Archive, did our last one a couple of weeks ago at Love and Cup.
That's awesome.
Venues that are conducive to people sitting down and listening.
You have to talk.
I love that.
You have to talk to Alana still and try to bribe her to let me buy that T-Rex.
Oh,
I told you never. Okay, you may play to 100,000 people somewhere. You will never play at a stage with a candelabra.
That's true. It's a beautiful room.
Oh,
it really is.
And I'll say one thing, man. Nobody plays "Stay With Me" by the Faces like you guys.
Oh,
you guys,
you got to have someone that can sing it. That's the key.
I don't know about that.
Crushed that song because that's not an easy song to do.
That's one of those songs that, like, when I was growing up, a tune that you didn't hear it on the radio all the time. But when you did, you'd be like, damn, why don't you hear that song more? And it's such a great tune.
I've got one like that. My version of that's the Rolling Stones' Hand of Fate.
Sure.
Which you would hear it on. Back in the day, you would hear it more. But like the old Macombo's albums got it on. But I think that's like one of the most underrated songs. You never hear it. And again, you can't really. It's like apples and oranges. There's so many great songs. But
sure.
Okay, I've heard this. Tom Petty wrote a thing one time saying, okay, you're going to a big show. Costs money. You got to park. We got to give the fans some of the stuff they want to hear.
Sure.
Yeah, but try to sneak in some of the other. You figure, okay, the fans can listen.
Yep. I love those deep cut things.
Yeah, it's true. It's like when you're a band, especially a band like the Stones or someone that's been around for many, many years, you're excited about your new material. You haven't been playing it for 50 years. You want to get out there in front of your audience and play it, but they realize that's like you can't just go and play the whole new record because people are just going to be bored. They want to hear, songs from Let It Bleed.
I'll tell you a story real quick. When I was on the road back in the old days, I played in Atlantic City at Resorts International, and we were in the lounge, and then the big acts. I saw Paul Anka. I saw a lot of people, and Gary Puckett was up there one time. He had a new band, right? Yeah. He had his brother and some other guys, and I got to actually talk to him for a minute. And I said, "So, how do you like doing this? How's the comeback thing?" And he's like, people, it's okay. We want to play out new stuff, but everybody wants to hear the old. I mean, even he was like, he wasn't afraid to say it. Sure. And it's just like, that's just musician to musician.
He's actually a pretty good friend of mine.
Is he?
Yeah, I play with Gary Lewis and the Playboys.
That's right. Yeah.
We're on tour. We play with them a lot. And I've heard him tell that story.
And I met him through some guitar player that he had, and he liked the stupid lounge band we had. He took me to see Mamas and the Papas at some other hotels.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like, but musician to musician, it's not like, oh my God, you're so great. I wasn't trying to get up his butt or anything. Right. I was just like, so how do you feel about this? And he was honest enough, and I think that's cool,
Maybe
instead of trying to put on
term to use, Greg, would be there's the people who are more of like are music geeks, or there's the general public, and the general public, we could go, okay, what do you like from this album? Well, the general public, I like the hits. Right. Great example would be growing up, the Beach Boys. We're all into Brian Wilson, Pet Sounds, all this stuff, and average person's into the hits.
Right.
But one thing I say this with love to all the bands I know for covers, there's more than 3 Johnny Cash songs.
Yes.
Right.
Please,
yes, there are.
Well, how about, that's why tribute bands are so popular now. So
that's crazy.
Can not have to go, they can hear the hits.
I know.
And that too, and also they can do it for maybe $100 less.
Oh, hell yeah. That's for sure.
But I like to always draw the distinction between tribute bands and bands that do cover songs, too, because in a tribute, they want to see you, maybe you're going to dress like them a little. Right. You have to play like note for note. Now, when you're doing a cover, you can make it your own a little.
Sure.
You can play with it.
It gives you a lot more latitude to do your thing with it. But I mean, talking about some of these, I've seen, there's some wonderful. I went to see Seven Wonders last night.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're incredible. What an amazing show down Innovation
They were
Square.
great from a distance, because I went to see Richard Thompson,
and
they were playing it. I heard them sing. I'm like, Kyle, crank that bass down.
But my point is, they don't really. I mean, there's nods to Stevie Nicks and the way Tegan dressed, but most of them dress their own kind of way. I
recognize Tegan in the picture. It's like it's Tegan.
Yeah. And then I've seen, I saw a Tom Petty band from out of town once, and had, a bunch of 60, 65-year-old guys.
Right,
the guys wearing a long blonde wig and a top hat. And it was just like. Oh, man.
Yeah, give it up, man.
I saw one of the bands that I used to go see. It was just
different ways to approach it.
You get a group of friends. It's something to get together. Crazy Train to play here. It would be. We got to know them. It was Ozzy cover band. I was from Kentucky, and they did like Pat, the lead singer. Now it turned out later on he's more like a Americana guy, and he would do like that in their home, but he's trying to put his kids through college, so he would do Ozzy. But you went on. You look like he was whole Ozzy.
Yep. No, it is crazy to see. I think that I've seen them, and I've actually been in the venue when they were like sound checking, and he just comes out, how he is.
I saw him with his pants down though the one time we were at Spender's. We're walking in because and we're like, "Oh, Pat, pull your pants up." He's changing his clothes.
But
you don't look like Ozzy.
But when he comes out and he's all made up and he's doing the whole like the slow movements and the weird kind of like things like Ozzy does, it is.
That's a lot of work to emulate somebody like that.
Out of those, I saw YYZ, obviously, Rushko. It was at the Jam Room, I think. And the thing was, Getty does, but he's doing Getty. And they would do, like, stuff from Crest of Steel, too. They were having fun, which I don't play. But he just did the little Getty mannerisms. Like how he does maybe moves like Sneaker a little bit. Mm-hmm. But he would do in Getty.
No.
And that's always the weird thing. It's like how, like, you're going to stick like a Tom Petty wig on me for this.
I mean, if you're going to do a Beatles, you got to, how many people try to look just like the Beatles? I'm the Paul.
Yeah, right.
I always get a kick out of some of these, like, fun, you call them novelty, little bands, but because Mike Murray played band called the Beatniks yesterday, and they were doing the Beatles, but they were doing Stairway to Heaven, but like She Loves You. And there's a band I wish I would have saw played at Monty's Crown. It was called the Man in Black Sabbath, where it was a Johnny Cash doing Black Sabbath. I never heard of them again. I tried to find it.
I think I would pay to see that.
Wow, that's a mashup.
Dred Zeppelin. There you go.
I saw them toured Elvis. I saw them at Backstreets.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of great ideas out there. I mean, whatever you can come up with is valid, I guess.
Well, the story goes, Robert Plant was in town the night at a concert at the War Memorial.
Oh, yeah?
It was like the cover band he liked. But anybody out there, if you've never heard of Dred Zeppelin, picture toured Elvis, who was a huge ex-mailman, giant Elvis guy, doing Led Zeppelin to reggae.
Yeah. Brilliant. And it was good.
Look up Immigrant Song.
It's great. It was good.
The best part was like Moby Dick. Well, I can't understand this book. But that's another part to go on, Mike. How is it? Like, how do you adapt? What do you learn from playing with these different people, Gary Lewis and everybody else?
Well, I mean, a job like Gary Lewis is a little different because I have a job to do. I have to stick to the, it's 60s, early 60s music, the arrangements, it's got to be, you can't be, doing a metal tap show shredding during a Gary Lewis show.
You're going to start doing Eddie Van Halen.
Right, you're there to support him. And it's a nostalgia thing for people. It takes them right back to high school.
It's good music, though, too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's great music.
It has to be done with sincerity, for sure.
That's all the Wrecking Crew and all that stuff.
Right.
Leon Russell was one of his producers.
Who wrote this Diamond Ring? I was just reading the article.
What's his name? The guy that started Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Oh, Al Cooper.
Yeah.
Which amazed me. Yeah. I had no idea he wrote all these cool songs.
He hated Gary's version of it because he wrote it as an R&B song.
Oh, really?
This diamond ring doesn't shine. Wanted to do that type of a song.
Huh, interesting.
And they just took it.
A lot of them get it. Willie Nelson wrote crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Willie Nelson wrote crazy.
Yeah.
And you get like all these like Needles and Pins, Sonny Bono.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you did. But I mean, I think that's the thing too. If you talked about like the idea of being able to collaborate with a bunch of different people too is really cool.
Somebody always brings something to the table. I don't
think it's always when you go. I always think one of the keys to any like band and collaboration is, okay, you bring something. Somebody else might say it's really cool, but I think why don't we try it this way? Maybe you don't do it that way, but at least you're open to. You're not. No, mine.
Look at all the artists Three Dog Night brought to the limelight.
Oh, yeah.
Laura Nyro, Elton John. Lady Samantha was an Elton John song. And that's on his, Skyline Pigeon album or some one of his really old ones. It's really on the Friends soundtrack. It's on one of those really old things.
Sure.
But, and who else?
White Axton.
Gary, what's his name there? Randy Newman and all that. I mean,
sure.
But they were smart. I think whoever the producer was smart. They just, let's pick really cool songs. And
that's the thing. My brother, so we were talking about Nashville early on, and I've got a brother who moved down there, and he has played with a couple of touring country musicians. And, one of the things that I saw and learned between the two guys, one absolutely had the stronger voice, but the other one chose the better material. So the one with the weaker voice went further and did better just because he picked great material.
Right.
And the other guy, amazing voice, but just didn't pick the right stuff. I mean, he had minor hits, but not on the order of the other guys.
That kind of shows you what the pecking order is.
Yeah. My little bias too is, but I always make a joke that, for American Idol, imagine Dylan or Tom Waits or something. Right. And you can have somebody incredible voice, but they have no feel for the. And I've heard this before, where you hear somebody, music's good, but they cannot interpret the song at all.
Right.
And I mean, I think, and I also go back to, you'll probably agree with this, one of the biggest things when you're playing with anybody is just chemistry. You don't have to be the best.
Right.
You just, and we talked about jazz. You have to know, if you're playing jazz, you have to, feed off everybody.
Yep.
It's we sort of do on this.
Riffing, man.
We glom off of people. We gorge off people.
No, I really, this is the idea of having this kind of a conversation is just a blast.
No, that's what we do. We always want to say, number one, I want to just try their crazy thing. you can talk whatever you want. Try to keep politics out. Nobody wants to hear it,
no.
you know. But then also just a bunch of people. Just, you don't ever. I think from the beginning with podcasts, you don't have like what is your name? What is your favorite color?
Right.
You know, we try to go like with the band, a little background and everything, but it's like a bunch of people just having a conversation about stuff and see where it goes.
Just roll.
We haven't talked about do unicorns exist or did Paul really die yet? But we can get
I loved that when I was a kid.
Taking
my records, playing them backwards.
Yeah. There was a book called Beatles Forever, and it was all the clues.
I know, I stopped.
It was all the clues and everything. And for a while, because you can do like the whole, you can get drawn into stuff that you know is not true, but you start. It's like growing up watching pro wrestling.
Sure.
Okay, well, like the crazy guy, like George the Animal Steel. How isn't this guy in a mental institution?
Right.
But because they make it, the old saying, like the wrestlers would say, you might not think wrestling's real, you're going to think I'm real. And you start reading into these things that you can explain, even like 28th. Mm-hmm. Paul would have been 27.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember? Because he would have been 27 in 69. But
yeah.
Or the Abbey Road, back of Abbey Road when the woman walks by.
Yeah.
There's like a skull, and the thing, it might be a skull, it might just be a shadow.
The White Album is all.
Yeah,
Revolution number 9.
Sergeant Pepper, where he's pointing to
the patch.
And they don't get the grave thing where they're burying the Beatles. They're trying to do something.
You got George pointing up to Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's when Paul died.
I think was about,
on the lyrics are written overlaid on the picture.
Or in your he blew his mind under the car. I think it was about Tara Brown. I'm pretty sure it wasn't about Paul, but it's like he's telling the story about. But I got like some guests going because I had like my made up. It is made up. Though it is very valid, probably that Shemp Howard had faked his death at the Stooges. He took over for Paul, and I had like guests going like, "You really believe this stuff?" Then I said it was Pittsburgh Penguins goalie Les Binkley when Shemp retired. But he said no. But one of the guests said he's got like some friend. This is like I have a guy, See What I Walk, goes all about that the NFL's fixed for sure, and that's a different topic. But that he has a friend who's convinced Paul's dead. And I'm going, wow, they found a guy that talented, that brilliant.
Right. That good. And it looks just like Billy Shears, right?
Yeah. It's just like, they could do plastic surgery on that.
No, not that much.
Make Greg look like Robert Plant.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
My big thing was always for years, and I worked at a bar, I would get like these musicians looking at me. And one guy, I remember this band comes up to me, are you him? I just got to ask him. Yeah, me. I was like, wow. I just had to ask him. I thought it was Kyle Gass from Tenacious D.
Wow.
But then I'm going, great, I'm a rock star. Let's look up damn it.
Yeah, I know, right? Not the one you want to look like.
Like, Jeannie asked me a wish. I'm like, I want to look like a rock star. It made me look like Meatloaf. Like, oh, man, come on. They always monkey's paw you on stuff.
That's it. That's
monkey's
it.
Paw. I had when I was in high school, we went to Ireland for the Bishop Carney. We marched in the parade, right? And I went to a record store and I picked up a mono version of Sgt. Pepper. Wow. That I had for the longest time.
You picked a mono? I'm sorry.
I did. And it had that little gobbledygook thing at the end. If you know what I'm talking about.
I buried Paul. Oh,
no. There's this thing at the very end of the record after the Day in the Life piano thing fades out. There's this nonsense chatter. And it repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, and it never stops. And they built like a skip into it, where it just keeps going back and back. And
it comes back around and meets itself.
Yeah, and you can hear it on the when they did the remasters, they included that. But it's just like and you're listening to that, and you're going, wow. And then you think about how the American versions change everything, and this is too weird. People wouldn't like. And then people, like you said. People start looking for all this stuff.
Yeah. What's the word for it? Yeah, what's the word? It's like when you try to bring in, it's like confirmation bias.
Yes.
So you start going like that. But my question would be, like, if I had Paul McCartney on here, he probably won't tell, though. Okay, did they get wind of it and start purposely doing it, or did people just find
it? Don't you wonder?
Okay, Magical Mystery Tour, you hold it up to the mirror. There's a phone number where Billy Shears. Okay, what's the area code?
Oh, I'm sure they were having fun with it.
Yeah.
The Walrus's call. Come on.
Yeah, but who's the Walrus, though? Because then John would say, I am the Walrus, and God, so which one's the Walrus?
Well, you got to remember, Paul was into all that Stockhausen and all the arty, weird stuff. So I think he really got into that, and just how far out can we go with this?
Yep. Yep.
You know, he was trying to make an art package.
That's when they started smoking weed. That's what happened.
Well, I guess like they all like he was the one. Paul was the one who stopped doing LSD because he thought it freaked him out too much. But he always did the weed. But I think John would always say he was more. Paul was all more into the fancy. Well, he was trying to be more of a rocker. But that's why it worked. Though I always go. I look at like a lot of my friendships, and I go my really long friendships, and I go, we're everybody has like the Beatles thing where you got the one guy like this, the one guy like this.
I think that you cannot separate the Beatles. Like they didn't. Nobody did as well on their own as they did as a group. I think that for every brilliant thing John came up with, it would have been nothing without Paul's manipulation.
Well,
it's a healthy competition. They're trying to outdo each other. That's why it works.
Listen to their solo stuff. Sometimes John's is too raw, and Paul's is too sapo.
Yeah.
Well, John used to call Paul stuff. Oh, it's another one of his granny songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's songs like
He likes to write little
when I'm 64, stuff like that.
Yep, stories. Well, his dad was into 20s music.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
But going back, of course, to the guests and your music, I saw a good meme one time about original music where it was a Trojan horse, and the Trojan horse said cover songs. One of the things I try to do on the show, and I've always tried to do, is get people to go outside their comfort zone and listen to different stuff, listen to original stuff. And I always say, what you like. Guess what? All you're going to do is, okay, maybe you waste an hour. If you don't like it, go. Mm-hmm. Not going to cost you that much.
Nope.
Go. You may enjoy it. It might be like that little kid who he likes the cereal. Yay! You find then what happens? It's like a gateway. You find new stuff and everything, and
or you'll know what you don't like.
Which I hate a lot of you local bands because you cost me money all the albums. And stuff. It's like darn it.
I listen to an internet radio station that plays everything from classical, one song, and then it'll be a punk song, and then a progressive rock song. It's really, really good. Radio paradise.
I have a few,
but my point is that I forgot my point. Lost it.
The Carnival is perfect. Okay, they're playing every different song, variety of songs.
Oh no, but I was going to say that, like, as evil as Spotify is, it's terrible for musicians. It's it's just a la carte, but it does allow me to jump down these rabbit holes. I'll hear something on internet radio that's like way out, I've never heard any, what is this? Check out who it is, and then go on Spotify and make sure I listen to a bunch of their stuff. And
that's one of those things that I think has been very much lost in the corporatization of radio, is the fact that this one has to be a country radio station and this one has to be a pop radio station. I remember growing up as a kid where FM was FM, and every station played everything. This one was a quasi, like a crossover country song, and this one was a rock song.
If it was a single, it was on there.
That's exactly it.
Even if it went on for 8 minutes, it was sometimes.
And every now and again, and I think that's one of the reasons that my musical taste is as broad as it is because it wasn't catered to a certain group. It was, and you had to listen all day until you heard that one song that you really wanted to hear.
Yep.
But in the course of the day, you learned about some other artists or styles that are every bit as valid and every bit as enjoyable.
And also being a little bit older, we've heard so much music over the years. I've seen, rock and roll develop from almost nothing to what it's become and expand. And I love 70s music. I love 80s. I love 90s. From every decade, there's something I like.
It took me forever, speaking of 80s stuff. It took me a long time. I finally found the Power Station album.
Oh, nice.
And I just love that record.
It's a great album. Record, man.
It's
the
over
drums on that are huge.
It's way produced, but it's just the songs are great.
A lot of that was the one problem, like a lot of 80s. It was a little bit over. The stuff was overproduced. You just got to go with it.
But that was one of the things when I first heard it, when it was kind of underground, and then people were starting to do stuff in the early 80s with sequencers and synthesizers and sounds that I never heard. And right on everything was perfect, lined up to the grid. That was something I'd never heard before. It sounded cool and futuristic and different to me, and that kind of morphed into new wave, so to speak.
But then that just goes back to illustrate like the how everything is cyclical in music. I loved music in the 80s, but when the 90s came around and grunge came up, and I know that that's not for everybody, but if you're a singer and all you had in the 80s was like hair metal and you know, pop, when Pearl Jam came out, like it was back to where guys with voices like mine could start singing again.
Yeah, well, grunge kind of revitalized things. You could go back to basics with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was much less produced, much rawer than a lot of the stuff in the 80s that just had this sheen to it.
I just watched this thing called Hype. It's a documentary.
Yeah, it's about how they just the woman made up the terms like for grunge and everything.
Well, how the Seattle scene wasn't a scene at all. It was just a bunch of kids that played out.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the scene was created, and there was no, you know what I mean? It was kind of like a manufactured thing, but they had nothing to do with it.
Well, and if you look at the, you know, they talk about grunge, and you look at Pearl Jam, and then you compare them to Soundgarden. Soundgarden is practically prog rock,
right?
Where Pearl Jam is like straight up like, you know what they call it, jock rock. I mean, like, and Nirvana was something else entirely. So trying to steamroll all these things under this one little heading, you know, it was a joke. It was just...
it was more the fashion, maybe. You know, like the Doc Martens and the flannel and stuff.
That's about the only thing that they had in
It
common.
was raw.
Yeah.
Exactly what you were just saying, relative
like,
to
I
80s.
was into, like the Ramones and punk and stuff, and people go, and I just say, what they're doing is they're going back to the 50s.
Yep.
That's all they're doing is they're making it simple. But, I mean, actually, Soundgarden's pure jazz.
Right.
That's a joke.
And
sort of, no, because what happened, I went to the Ottawa Jazz Fest, and I'm going to see some bands. My friends are playing there. One of their headliners was that known jazz band Soundgarden.
Right.
And Soundgarden plays at jazz.
That's fantastic.
Well, I mean, plenty of the pop songs that are popular with kids now have a ton of 80s stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like that sheen is back.
Oh,
because
totally.
it's nostalgic now.
Every time I hear Black Hole Sun, that middle section, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, and it's like the weird count. It's like a 9 count or something, some weird thing. But it's cool, you know. You have to actually know what you're doing to play that song.
And again, that just throws back to like Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of heavy kind of, you know, it's amazing how things come and go and come back again. Sabrina Carpenter now, like you're saying, it's so produced, and you hear some of these same harmonies and techniques that you heard, you know, 30 years ago.
She's going to be your new one after Billy and Taylor.
It's become a producer's game. They just get their little palettes out, and they're like, it's like they got their canvas. Okay, I'm going to do this and throw this sample in. And
some producers sitting in their basement.
Yeah.
You know,
when I did like during lockdown, I'm going, okay, I have all these like world music CDs, I'm going, and the thing you realize too is part of it is I have to have something like, okay, if I have like a can, I can bang on it because I can't afford an instrument. Then that's how we get rhythm, and you just realize how, it's all over the world. You could find something different all the time. You can never get bored.
It's interesting how equipment, too. Like, I was just watching another thing. I've been going down this whole rabbit hole myself with these documentaries. So I watched this one on Sly Stone.
Oh, I've been looking forward to seeing that one, yeah.
It's really good. And they were talking about after the band kind of got fractured, he had this crummy little drum machine that when they first came out, and it just had like cha-cha and rumba. So he just took those basic things and, like, you know, it's a family affair and all that. He just put those in, but he said the one guy said what he did was he started it on beat 2 or 3 instead of on 1, so it sounds all wacky, and then he'd come in with the rest of it. And Sly was a lot more interesting than I gave him credit for.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like
Muddy
Waters.
Way more inclusive about equal rights and things than you know.
Well, I've been reading like my Richard Wright now and Chester Himes. I think because we always look at stuff from historical, sometimes we don't realize what people had to go through.
Yeah.
But I also, in Keith Rich's book, he was saying like some chords from Muddy Waters you couldn't play. He's saying Muddy Waters is painting the Chess Studio. He's asking him how to play it. He's like, well, you got to skip that. But I got to ask him, like, speaking of documentaries, have you seen Beyond the Latest Stage? It's a Rush documentary.
Oh.
Beyond the Latest Stage.
How much, maybe? How old is it? Is it old?
Say within... I'm horrible like this. Say within the last 15 years.
15 years? I probably saw it.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Beyond the Latest... You can borrow it. I own a copy.
Cool. Okay. Beyond... Yeah, it does sound familiar.
but it's cool and everything. There's like the one part where somebody somehow doesn't recognize, of all people, Getty and recognizes Alex or something. They can't figure. You want his autograph too?
I can't even imagine. That's we were talking earlier about being able to come in at this point in musical history, that we are so lucky that there are these re-releases, there are these documentaries about these geniuses that did all this stuff back in the day.
I just bought a 9-disc Vanilla Fudge thing.
Wow.
What is wrong with me?
I want to go see Becoming Led Zeppelin.
I saw the promo for that the other day, and I can't wait. The fact that they shot some of it in IMAX, I'm like, what on earth have they done here?
We're lucky like that. I always go I saw... Oh, goodness, I don't even remember his name. I'm blanking on my own show, as I always do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get to it eventually. Oh, Mose Allison. And I'm sitting there for a moment just going, this is special to me. I'm seeing Mose Allison. This is like something I'm going to remember.
That's huge.
Stuff like that.
He's great.
But I want to go back to when you go to see, what do you expect from one of your shows? You come to see you. Why should we all go see you? Because it's really good, of course. But and you want to listen to the original music, too.
Rob Smith is a sexy beast.
Oh, we know that. If you had him and you had Greg come and sing a song, they'd be throwing roses at you.
I think that what we've got is we've got 3 of the most talented musicians in Rochester. Don Torpy is just phenomenal on the bass, and Greg and I were talking about Emmett earlier. What a talented, just detail-oriented drummer. Everybody knows what an incredible talent Mike is,
and a nice guy, because he always talks with me. And he could act like I don't exist, but he doesn't.
That's that's the beauty of these guys in this band, and I try to post about it every now and again, just how like they're good people, but they are the most talented guys I've ever met and worked with. And for me, they let me do what I, sing what I sing, however it is that I sing it. We try to mix it up, like I was talking about earlier. We try to change gears. 1 minute we'll do, we'll warm up with like a sing along kind of a song, and then we'll switch into something else that's heavier and just a different style altogether. And through the course of the night, hopefully, we play something that everybody likes. It's all over the board. I think that's our calling.
Well, I have seen you. I'm like the surly guy looking like he's having no fun in the corner. I mean, Lizzie Lipper always would say to me, "Oh no, you're having fun. I see you, but I just have to be like the the old beat writer singer."
I know your
like
toes tapping in
one
there
of the things
somewhere.
I get, you're another band from what I've seen. I always use this word. It's sort of pretentious, maybe a little bit. I always get passion, and I say there's a lot of bands. I've had friends in them where it's like you see they're great musicians, but they're just sitting there. You can almost see like the drummer looking at a watch because they're just going through the motions.
Dialing it in.
Yeah.
Well, we try never to do that. I mean, if it gets to that point, I'll just stop doing it.
Quit.
It's got to be fun, and it's got to be a journey during the night.
Right. I was apologizing to someone because I tend to close my eyes a lot when I'm singing, and they're like, "Well, you're just getting into it. Like you're just feeling it the way you feel."
I do that at shows sometimes. I'll close my eyes because I want to hear the music. And sometimes you get caught up by the visuals. Mm-hmm. Then you can really focus on the music. And they're like, Rob fell asleep again during our gig. Damn him.
No, Mike moves around enough for both of us. And he, you see the joy in his face and everything that he does. Emmett is fun to watch. Don sits back in the pocket and kind of does what he does, but God, he's so good at it. And me, I just stand up front. And if it's something that I'm really feeling, I may bounce around. If I can take the mic off the stand and move around, I'll do that. But a lot of the stuff, when I'm playing and I'm kind of stuck in the middle, I close my eyes and I kind of, I'm listening and trying to make sure that I'm doing the best job of putting across what I'm trying to sing. And I guess I really can't apologize for it because that's just what I do.
That's your style. It's your style.
Yeah, I have to say, sometimes watch the Hey Ya video by Outkast just because they do and it's sort of, he plays all the characters, but they represent.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the guys in the band. Like I could see you with like the crown, like the drummer has a little crown on. I could see you, but I'm like looking at like the bass player. And sometimes I would really fixate on not the guy jumping around, but the guy who's just, I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool.
Sometimes I look like I'm bored when I'm playing, and I'm not. But I just like to sit there and play. I just kind of do another day at the office. And I don't know. It's like,
but that's huge though. I mean, like to be the dependable one where people know. I went and I saw this band the other day, and the drummer, like I kept hearing like he was dropping beats. He was like missing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first be dependable. First be someone that everybody can count on to be where they're supposed to be.
Right, that's super important.
And then if you can goof around and make faces and you know, I don't know, throw stuff in the crowd. I don't know, whatever. But,
yeah, I got you.
But you know, be the best musician you can be, and then be a showman, and then you know, because that's what people are going to remember.
Yeah.
I can picture like Greg, you throwing a drumstick up, getting stuck on the ceiling.
Flaming drumstick.
That'd be great. But I mean, like if you go out and you see a bad band, whether they're fun or not, you're going to go, well, they weren't the most talented band I've ever seen. But I do remember they sold a lot of booze.
Even if you work together. The thing is, a lot of people forget, you have to listen to the conversation. Mm-hmm. There's 5, 6 people, whatever it is. There's a conversation going on. It's like being around a table. You got to hear what he's doing. He's got to hear what you're doing. You got to feed off him. He's got to feed off you. And all that stuff is all part of it. And I think a lot of people just get into the, oh, look what I'm doing, or I'm going to, and they forget that it's a conversation.
Nobody cares if it's someone else or themselves. You know, it's
you play to the song.
Yep.
Right. And,
I mean, that's a big philosophy now, more so than ever. I think Steve Gadd kind of helped get that across. Because as great as he is, he can play rings around himself, but if you listen to him on recordings, he does what he has to do.
And I always get the one thing I love in live music, too, is what I call the moment where, everybody, I hope on this show, too, we're at least at a level of competence and it goes up, but sometimes I wonder. But like for musicians, when I go see it, most people I see, they're pros. They put on a good show. Every now and then you have like that magic, though, like when you just nail this. You just see them look to each other. Right. Not like Bob Dylan with like Ian McLaughlin, because that's like the story I like to tell when he was playing. And he's like, Bob's staring at me. I'm getting scared. And he goes, don't worry about him. He's nearsighted. He can't see. So he just looks through your play. But no, and I love that when you see one of them, like even like fist bump and go, wow, we killed that.
Yeah.
But this has been, I think we could go on like for hours. This has been a lot of fun.
Sure can.
Well, this has been a
We'll
blast.
do it again.
So obviously, Greg, you're playing wherever, aren't you?
I've got 2 Smoking Joe's gigs this weekend. Yay, I don't have to move my drums. So, see, those are the kind of things you look forward to. You know? I don't have to move anything. I got one with Brian and Lindsay, and then another one with In the Mix, which is like a cover classic rock thing.
You have one actually on March 22nd, because my good friend Casey, we might have her on here, she's playing her first solo gig at Thurport Brewery, and Brian is coming. Come see us down the road afterwards.
There you go.
But what's going on for you? What are you doing? Any outside projects too, Mike? But in terms of Junkyardfieldtrip, where can we see you soon?
Well, I think
nice out for me.
Well, Junkyardfieldtrip's playing Friday night at 9:00 over at Bunsey's.
Those desserts will get you, man. You see those desserts?
Dude, those shakes are to die for.
Oh, with those desserts too? Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'm actually playing in a Pink tribute.
Oh, wow.
Allison Sparkles.
Pink Floyd or
no,
Pink?
Pink.
You can get the party started?
She's getting the party started, Allison. Yeah.
Where are you guys playing
Allison Stevens. She plays in Dial Up. She's incredibly talented and a lot of fun. One of the best performers.
Now, there's a good example. That Raise Your Glass riff. Yeah. I've heard so many guys butcher it, and I've tried to explain the timing to them. It's an 8-beat thing, but it's just the way it's chopped up.
That one?
No.
No, what's Raise Your Glass?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but it's still 8.
Yep.
But it's the way it's chopped up, and guys don't get it.
Right,
and it's
right.
Oh, you got to count, man.
I played like My Taste perfectly the one time. My friends are playing. I think it was still Curly's or something was on Ridge Road, and he's like, but I'm going to try maybe psychobilly a little bit. I'll try to make it. I'm going to a ballet beforehand. That was me perfectly. So
I love that.
I just put on the leather jacket, go down the puncture after. Anything else coming up for you, Rob, or just Junkyard Field Trip?
Right now, it's primarily Junkyard Field Trip. Every now and again, I play a solo gig, but the next thing that I know of,
you know
Friday
what
night.
you have to do sometime is you have to play in a junkyard.
How long is the Bunties gig? Until what? 11?
That'd be 3 hours.
Yeah, it's usually 3, so it's usually
So 9 to
midnight.
12.
Yeah. Which is
Okay.
late. It's late for us.
Okay, so maybe after my thing I will come. Cause
Do it if you pop down, no?
on the way home. Yeah.
Buy a drink or several.
Or one of those big milkshakes.
Oh.
Now, we usually...
I just saw a thing on one of those food shows the other day. I don't watch them, but they were on at work.
Yeah, right.
Well, they were on at work. They
It's just watching it for a friend.
I read Playboy
Yeah.
the articles, man.
I had an assignment. Watch this show. No, some ice cream place in Detroit has liquor milkshakes.
Sure.
So they have this bourbon thing in a milkshake, and it's like so if you really want to go get an alcoholic thing, and people are just like, oh my God, this is like heaven in a glass.
I don't think I'm going to drive to Detroit from here for a milkshake.
No, but we can.
Anyways,
Sure I can make one.
we
on my
usually
own.
at the end have the artist
Bunties.
play.
Yeah.
We usually have the
I didn't
artist
know
play
he
a
had
song. We just pick Andy will play it for. Like we'll get something. Is there anything particular you want to just surprise the fans about what you want to play? Just a song you'll find it online or something.
Let's see, what would you call out? I mean,
something we don't play that we'd like to?
Whatever you want to. It's no choice. No, one of your songs.
our songs.
Oh, you got
look
it?
at that.
Cool.
He's got the album. I do love the song "Final Grains" on the new album because it's R&B kind of tinged, and I think it's a great performance.
Can we still get that album and everything?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
available at Record Archive. I think they have a few of them up at the Hog, and we sell them at our shows.
Oh.
But CDs are a dying commodity.
So I'm the CD guy. I can store them better.
Absolutely, but people don't. People listen to it in their car and they don't have players. And
I know.
But very cool, guys. And thanks. We never know when to end, but thanks a lot for being on, man.
Oh, pleasure.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for the conversation.
Yep.
Adios.
How many memories have gone away? How many truths will you never say? How many lonely nights will pass? I don't know. How long can this loneliness last? Ooh, I feel time slipping away like tears from my eyes. How quickly the sand hits the bottom and I feel the pain. Night at a time we are together, baby, as hard as I try. Ooh, time passes by. Now I'm staring at the final grains. So now we'll make up for all the time we've lost. Throw caution to the wind and never count the cost. It can't be too late to start again. Wise men stand. We'll try to prove it right in all the years that lie ahead. Ooh, I feel time slipping away like tears